Uxmal was the greatest urban and religious center in the Puc Hills of Yucatán during the late classical period. It flourished between the 7th and 10th century AD. The main ruins of Uxmal cover about 150 acres, though its residential neighborhoods spread beyond that. Uxmal occupies a grassy savanna surrounded by forest. Its buildings were adapted to the varied elevations of the hilly landscape. The real function of many of the surviving structures remains uncertain. They have retained the fanciful names given them by the Spanish. The massive Magician's Pyramid is the tallest structure at Uxmal, also known as the Pyramid of the Dwarf. Both names derive from a legend about a magical dwarf who was hatched from an egg, grew to adulthood in a single day, and built the pyramid in one night. Construction on the pyramid was actually begun in the 6th century AD, and it was regularly expanded through the 10th century. The pyramid is unique among Mayan structures because of its rounded sides, height, and steepness, along with a doorway that can be found near the top of the opposite or west side. Its limestone core was originally covered with smooth plaster and painted red, with accents in blue, yellow, and black. 5 earlier structures lie beneath the Magician's Pyramid. A rich decoration near the top of the pyramid features 12 stylized masks. These were traditionally thought to represent the rain god Chak, but recent scholarship suggests they are actually iconographic mountains, or wits. The graceful elliptical shape and the different angles of inclination of the east and west staircases make the Pyramid of the Magician one of the most unusual in Mesoamerica. Light and shadow sweep around the curvilinear surface, creating different impressions at various times of day. The stone rings of the ball court are situated high upon the 2 walls of the court. One central aspect of Mayan life was the ball game, which filled both a recreational and political role. Mesoamericans played this sport for 3,000 years, making it the longest-lasting sport in human history. Today, the rules of this game are largely unknown, but it is believed that the objective was to use one's stomach and hips to score goals by bouncing a rubber ball through a vertical hoop located at the opposite side of the ball court. By the end of the Classic period, sacrifice had become a brutal aspect of the game, with the members of the losing team faced with the prospect of decapitation. The Nunnery Quadrangle was given its name by the 16th century Spanish historian Fray Diego López de Cogollado because it reminded him of a Spanish convent. The space above each doorway in the archway to the south of the Nunnery Quadrangle features the motif of a Maya cottage or na, a type of dwelling that can be found throughout the Yucatán to this day. The buildings of the Nunnery Quadrangle were constructed at different times. First the northern, then the southern, eastern, and western buildings. The western building has the most richly decorated facade, featuring intertwined stone snakes and numerous masks of the hook-nosed rain god Chak. It was named Casa de los Monjas, the nunnery, by the Spanish because the 74 small rooms around the courtyard reminded them of nuns' quarters in a Spanish convent. Each of the 4 buildings has a unique ornate facade and is built on a different level. The Turtle House is a simple rectangular building on the terrace south of the ball court. The temple is named for the frieze of small turtles that processes around the top of the building. Though much smaller and less elaborate than the other structures, its harmony and elegance makes it one of Uxmal's gems. The Governor's Palace, an imposing edifice on 3 levels with a 97-meter-long mosaic facade, was built in the 9th and 10th centuries. The facade is characteristic of the Puuc style, with a plain lower register topped by a mosaic frieze. The arch to the east is adorned with motifs including lattice patterns, masks of Chak, Itzamye, Tlaloc, and other gods, cloud images, and human figures. The building's upper floor is decorated with moldings of 3 elements, filled with elaborate sculptural relief. The carved stone mosaics present a series of motifs that undulate and interweave from one end of the building to the other. The 103 stone masks of Chak seem to slither across the facade like a serpent. The Governor's Palace may have been the administrative center of the Ziu Principality, which included the region around Uxmal. The Governor's Palace probably had astrological significance as well. Off the southeast corner of the Palacio del Gobernador's platform is a small complex, largely rubble, known as the Casa de la Vieja. In front of it is a small palapa, or thatched roof shelter, under which stand several large carved stones. The partially restored Great Pyramid originally stood 9 stories high. It seems that another temple was to be superimposed on the existing structure, and some demolition work had been carried out before the plans were halted, leaving the pyramid in its present state. Puuc-style stonework adorns the facade. Puuc means hilly country and is the name given to the hills nearby. It also refers to the region's predominant style of ancient architecture. Uxmal is part of the Puuc route of Mayan sites, along with nearby Sayil, Kaba, Slapak, and Lapna. El Palomar, or the Dovecote, refers to another rectangular grouping of buildings with 10 separate chambers on the north side and 8 on the south. Its architecture simulates a dovecote in its cresting, with an entrance that leads to an earlier acropolis. A number of other temple pyramids, quadrangles, and other monuments, some of significant size and in varying states of preservation, can also be found at Uxmal. These include the North Long Building, the House of the Birds, the House of the Doves, and the South Temple. Nature, including the ubiquitous iguana, can be found throughout the archaeological site. In 1996, UNESCO declared Uxmal a World Cultural Heritage Site.